Because this week has been a very special week for a member of our first panel. So you might give a big round of applause to a man who was celebrating his 50th. Superb journalist, chairman of the Football Review Committee, Mr. Eugene McGee. I was. And of course a former Cavan manager, I think I mentioned that, but just in case. Next up is a man who won 3 Ulster Championship medals. He was Monaghan's first All-Star, a legend in the game of Gaelic football, Mr. Nudie Hughes. Well done, Nudie. You're very welcome. 20 years ago, he captained Donegal to the All-Ireland title, to Sam Maguire. He's with us tonight. Will you welcome, please, All-Ireland winning captain of 1992, Anthony Molloy. And last but not least, we have another McEnaney for you. Former Monaghan manager, former Meath manager, Seamus McEnaney. You're welcome. Well done. Eugene, if I can start with you, because you're a former Cavan manager. What years were you manager?
I think 85 to 88.
And what was it like being manager back in the 80s of Cavan?
Well, I was, I wouldn't say I was half Cavan, but I wasn't far off it. When I was born, my next townland was in Cavan, during the first beside Gowna. So I was reared on the great history of Cavan football, because in Longford where I was, there was little or no history of that type. So my local town was Arba, and there was a lot of famous All-Ireland players there, like Seamus Morrissey, John Cassidy, and all those great players of the past. And then the next parish after that was Molloy. There's no need to talk about the great footballers that were from Molloy and Gunnar Brady and all those people. And then I went to Moyne Latin School, secondary school, and a third of the students in Moyne Latin School were from Cavan, and a lot of them were from Molloy, including 2 members of the Gunnar Brady family. And in fact, my first visit to a doctor was a kick on the shin where a tree had a mark 4 inches long, when we're playing some football on a rushy wet field on a Friday afternoon in February, and I pulled for a ball, and Danny Brady, the gunner, he decided he'd pull at the same time, only a fraction earlier, and I ended up in Dr. McManus's hospital in Arba for my first visit to a doctor. So I have the mark still there, and whenever I meet Danny, I remind him just of the family history and so on and so forth. But so I would have known Cavan very well, but mainly I went to Cavan because the chairman at the time was Phil Brady from Arba, and he used to sell me very, very cheap cars altogether, give them away for nothing. And he was hounding me for a while would I do something with Cavan. So it was also an opportunity to leave Offaly, because I was long enough in Offaly and I had to make a break, and I did that. So I enjoyed my time in Cavan. We got to 4 semi-finals in Ulster, but we didn't win any of them. The only thing that I could say is that the 4 teams that beat us each year won the championship, all right. But we had a good year in '88 here, because Cavan had a very good under-21 team and won the Ulster for the first time and got to the Ireland final. And Paddy Maguire, one of my senior selectors, was the main man there along with the rest of us. But ironically, the final was played in Longford, and even more ironically, the opposition was Offaly.
Right.
And it was a very good game. Anybody who was at the game that time will remember the crowds trying to get into Pearse Park was next to impossible. I think there was 10 or 12,000 there, 15,000 there, and half of them never got in because the roads were jammed. But anyway, we were a bit unfortunate that time because 2 of the best players, Ronan Carlin especially, our free taker, he was injured and didn't play, and Offaly won by 1 point. So it was a big setback, and because that team, a lot of them went on to play very well for Cavan afterwards, you know. So and there had been no tradition of under-21 in Cavan until then. So that was some success, I suppose. But I had to leave because I was involved in running the Longford Leader newspaper and involved in buying out the paper. So I just had to leave. I didn't have the time, as simple as that. I would have liked to stay on another year if I had to get a chance. Maybe it would have got rid of me anyway before that. But anyway, but I'd still have a great affection for Cavan, because I understand perfectly. They were talking earlier how Cavan people regard their football. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like, I don't think there's any other major sport in Cavan, and all the other sports are played, but not to the extent of other counties. GAA, Cavan is GAA, and that's it. And whenever you meet the Cavan people in Dublin, and as you know, there's thousands in there. They run every pub in the town, and they run a whole lot of other places, and they're mad about their football. And it'll be really, really fantastic if they could start building up a team again and get to an Ulster final again, because it means so much. They're the biggest crowd pullers in Ulster by a mile. There's no doubt about that.
Nudie, I'm sure you played against Cavan many times. Any outstanding memories?
I'm beginning to worry here because of Martin McHugh and now Eugene have a lot of affection about Cavan, and it's sort of contagious, and I can vouch for some of my incidents, you know. And
Nudie, you're balance that out fairly soon.
I remember a referee sort of Pat said at that time there was replays, and I remember Eugene Cairns in '87, and we were going out to play Cavan, and we were very hotly tipped, and Stephen had one of those days where whenever he jumped, the ball just went up and he gave an exhibition, and I was on the other side, the ball wasn't coming in as well, but you wouldn't tell Eugene Cairns that because he was kicking away like fuck. And I'll tell you one thing, it didn't matter where the ball was, it was just as long as you were kicked. But the following year we sort of got a bit of revenge, but I remember Eugene coming on in about 10 minutes the second half, and I said the best of luck, and the exact words, he drew the kick and he says there's no fucking room for luck out here. So there's a lot of passion. Cavan people are very passionate. I walked in the Cavan area for a long time, and Brian McCabe in Canningstown, I remember in '87 I would call to Brian every 2 weeks. When Cavan beat us, I didn't see him for 3 months and he gave me an awful doing. The following year we returned and we won the game, and I was visiting Brian every week, and he fucking just shut the door straight in front of me and he sent me back the morning. But our Cavan football was brilliant, and they're very passionate, but they're no different than a lot of counties, and they're a big crowd puller, but they love the game, and especially in your Seamus' area, Shercock right in the border, Coothill and Rockurry, and it's the crack has been brilliant. Like the GAA is very lucky in these areas because you know it is part of our nature, and when you start talking about the players here, like I was great to meet all the boys back again, and great to see Damien Riley. I'd be delighted to see Damien.
You're delighted to see him in 88 as well.
I still don't know how many was in that crowd in the hill, Damien, but I'm still walking on it. I'm still counting the toll. But I have to say, the competition we had at that time was fantastic, and we become great friends from that. And now we're coming into golf now. Golf is sort of taking on the backside for those old players.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky that's just running behind some of
The
the
youngest.
players. Yes.
Anthony, it's 20 years since you lived at Sam Maguire, and I'm sure people remind you about it every day. But what did it mean, if you can remember, to be the first to lift Sam for Donegal, and indeed the repercussions over the last 20 years?
Yeah, well, you know, it definitely was, it was the greatest moment of my life, Marty, and it's definitely the greatest moment of my life, and it was the proudest man, like, you know, in Ireland, you know, for them 5 minutes anyway, and like, but it was a life-changing moment as well, like, and you know, it's very hard to describe how, you know, from being relatively unknown, you know, to be known all over the country and further afield, like, and being sought after, like, and no, it was definitely great, like, and, you know I'll never do nothing better in my life anyway, you know, than go up and accept the Sam Maguire, like, on behalf of your own county.
It's some achievement, Anthony. The rest of us have never done it, so well done.
Yeah,
Even
well,
20 years later.
At the time as well, you know, thinking back now, at the time as well, you know, I didn't put much thought into it, like, you know, okay, like, at another year to look forward to, like, you go back into playing football again, like, but as the years roll on now, like, and you know, it's 20 years since, and we're back in a final again, like, I get more grateful, like, you know, and hopefully, like, and I would just love to hand over the mantle now at this stage, like, and hopefully no better man than Michael Murphy, hopefully come 3 weeks' time, like, you know.
Panty, is it true you played overage in Cavan football? Is that an exclusive we have tonight?
I was wondering, everyone has been on tonight is their love affair with Cavan. My love affair with Cavan would be rivalry, living on the border in Shercock. I just remember back a couple of years ago, I was managing Monaghan and Donald Keoghan was managing Cavan. We were playing in the McKenna Cup match down here in the park, and Cavan beat us by 7 or 8 points, and I remember going home listening to the radio. Keoghan was on and said, any day you beat Monaghan's a good day. And I says, yes, that's nasty enough for Kyogan, you know. And says, anyway, we're playing them here in a National League game, and 2 or 3 weeks later, and Monaghan beat Cavan, and Owen McConnell interviewed me after the game. I says, any day you beat Cavan, it's not a good day, it's a great day. So that's my love affair with Cavan, Marty.
Tell me, before you became manager of Monaghan and later Meath, you were a fairly well-known umpire.
Yeah, I done a bit of umpiring for Pat just before I started to manage Monaghan. Actually, in 2004, the All-Ireland final between Kerry and Mayo. But there's one interesting story actually about one day I was an umpire and the Dubs were playing. The Dubs were actually playing Kerry in the National League final. I think maybe it was 2003, and it was this dog come onto the field, and Dubs, sure, I was umpiring on Hill 16, and the Dubs were shouting in, Pat, will you feckin' get the dog off the field, and Pat, will you get the dog off the field, and next thing another bit of play went on for 2 or 3 minutes, and this Dub shouts in, Jesus, Pat, will you get the dog off the field, and still no movement. Next thing was this witty boy up on the hill says, Jesus, Pat, will you give the whistle to the dog and get off the field? So that was the days I was umpiring with Pat. That's what I remember them. I think the Dubs would rather the dog refereeing it.
Eugene, I know you obviously as a superb journalist, All-Ireland winning manager, and now chairman of the Football Review Committee. But you played a bit of football as well, didn't you?
I only played in an emergency situation. I didn't play football much at all. But I was studying in UCD for a good few years. I was a slow learner there, and I got into management. That's where I got into management, running the senior team and so on. But there was a junior team there as well, and they played on Sunday mornings at 11:30, which wasn't a very attractive proposition. But I was playing. I had to make up the numbers one morning anyway in Island Bridge in a match, and there was another chap playing called Jerry McGee, who was from Irvinstown in County Fermanagh. His father was a chemist shop there. He was a Fermanagh footballer at the time, and the National League was starting the following Sunday. He was on the Fermanagh team, but anyway, he got sent off in the first half, which is fair enough. Nobody passed much remarks on that. No, sorry. Yeah, he was sent off, that's right. But in the second half, I don't know what sort of a referee it was, but I got sent off as well. But what Jerry McGee didn't tell me was that when he gave his name to the referee in the first half, he gave the name Eugene McGee. So the referee then duly wrote down my name as well. So I'm probably one of the few guys that got sent off twice in the one match. And it went to the county board then. That time there were all the referees' reports are read out if there was a sending off. And I was a member, I was on the Dublin County Junior Board, and this thing was read out again to Eugene McGee sent off. So I think we both got suspended all right. But it's funny enough, I mentioned that some time ago in a newspaper, and the referee involved actually contacted me to say yes, it was true, all right, because nobody used to believe it, like, you know. So it's probably my only claim to fame as an actual player, you know. That it's something I suppose I can say anyway. None of these other guys will ever be able to say.
Absolutely not. Nudie, you must have many memories though playing in the Ulster Championship. I mean, over the last 25 years, was there anything that you can remember?
Well, the games of football is just things happen on matches, but the provincial, like the Railway Cup, was fantastic to play because you're playing with your players, and we're not got competition that time, but we were playing here in the Railway Cup final in '82 out here in Breffni, and we were playing Leinster.
I was the man.
And Tommy Dwyer was full forward for Leinster, and I was right full. And we had Tommy McGovern full back from down. So McEnany's tactics was, no matter what, he says, yourself and Joe Werman was left corner back. So Tommy's job was, no matter when Tommy jumped, break the ball, we'd sweep in. So I'm right full back and McEnany's there and up along, and lo and behold, Tommy doesn't line out full forward, he lines out. left corner.
Right.
And I'm going, best of luck. And I just knew of Tommy. 6'7", tallest man playing Gaelic football in inter-county. First ball comes in, stands and catches it, lays it off over the bar. And McEnaney passes a remark along the lane. And next ball comes in, he just raises a wee bit, sticks it over the bar, and McEnaney said, that's it. So the next ball comes in, I grabs Tommy by the balls and I squeeze him. And next thing he goes down like this here, and next thing I let go, and I was cautioned by the referee. So it didn't have that effect for another couple of minutes. The ball came in again, and I had to get Tommy, and I got Tommy behind the player, and I squeezed, and Tommy was on his hands and knees, going like that there. And next thing, Tommy was moved full forward, and all like I said, Tommy was. And every time the high ball in, Tom would go like this here. Big Tommy would be bending down like Allah. So, you know, there's games like that there, you adapt situations. That's the thing you'd never happen to do. But when you're playing a fella at 6'7",
yeah,
and you're 5 foot nothing, you have no choice.
No.
So you have to use all your skills, like to manoeuvre.
Is that what you call it?
But I'll tell you one thing, you have footballers' wives now, and you have footballers doing all the things. So it's all equal now in this type of game.
Anthony, in terms of Ulster playing for Donegal, I mean, is there any game in particular that stands out for you?
Well, you know, going back, to I remember going back to 1983, like we beat Cavan, and that's when I started to get to know these Cavan lads at that time, you know, and I was fairly young at the time, and but there was Adge King, he was a midfielder in them days as well, and but I was always known, like, if the ball's been kicked out, just leave it. Like, there was always a rule, like, leave it at Adge, you know.
Yeah.
Nobody else to come. And so it was a matter of just, you know, of standing in front of Adge, like, and get the job done. But no more than that there, like, along comes young Stephen King then, like, and he was introduced 15 minutes, only 15 minutes to go in that game, and I think if he on from the start, Cavan might have been Ulster champions in 1983. But as again, as Nudie said, it was great to see all these lads again, and there's one thing you always done, and anyway, when you played Cavan, you never let big thing up and pluck one out of the sky, because the crowd went mad, like, so you got the crowd behind them, like, so you had to keep them from catching one as well. But you're telling funny stories there. You know, I went into management as well, at club level, you know, and first round of this championship match was against Killybegs, so way back now. Killybegs wouldn't been just coming at this stage, you know, and we were raging hot favourites, but to make a long story short, you know, Killybegs struck in 3 goals against us, you know, and we're 12 points down at half time. I went into the dressing room anyway, like, so I pointed, you know, to me stronger players, like, but there's always wee boys, a very steady lad, you know.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't get a word out of him, but a damn good player, right? But I went round the bigger lads, you know, what are we going to do here? Like, they're turning things around. Well, you know, boys say, we'll throw a kitchen sink at them, we have nothing to lose, and we're going to give it all. So I just went down and asked me, Mickey, what are you going to do? He says, Jesus, Anthony, I think, you know, the longer we stay in here, you know, the longer we're going to be in the championship. You know, it's all good.
Banty, you've been manager of Monaghan, manager of Meath. Where would you like to go to next?
Home. Home. Probably. My nephew's in Australia, and I texted him. I was going to take. He asked me if I was going to come back into Monaghan. I texted him. No, I think I'll take a year out. He says if you spend a year at home, you'll be divorced in 12 months. She has seen more of you than in 12 months than she has in the last 10 years. No, I think it's time for time out, Marty.
Yeah. Would you like to go back into it though?
Oh yeah, certainly will. Yeah. I'll manage again. Yeah.
Okay, well, gentlemen, thank you very, very much indeed. Eugene McGee, Nudie Hughes, Anthony Molloy, and Banty. Well done, lads.